G'day, everyone, and welcome to another DUC Migrating to Australia podcast. My name's Wes Zant, and I'm joined by Luke Lacy. So, Luke is currently in the UK, and he's going through the process of getting a 491 visa. So, Luke, welcome, buddy.
Hiya, how are you doing?
I'm really good, mate. Really good. So, Luke, he's just told me, guys, he's taken the day off to do this podcast. What a legend! And this podcast is a little bit different because Luke hasn't lodged his visa yet. He's just at expression of interest stage, and we're really rapt when he put his hand up and sort of said he'll tell us what it's like being at this stage, the build up for it. So, Luke, we'll probably just start with whereabouts is home for you at the moment, mate.
So home is in Leeds, in West Yorkshire. So God's own country, as they call it. Nice place.
And Luke, you've got Melissa, aka Millie, and two kids, Zach and Ruby. So how old's Zach and how old's Ruby?
Zach is 11, just starting high school. It's actually his first day today.
Nice.
Yeah, and Ruby is 7 now. She was 7 in June.
How's his first day, mate? Did he get off all right?
Yeah. The wife started, Millie started late, so she managed to take him to school. Me, I'm a bit more. I'd have just kicked him out the door and said, "Go on, there's your independence. Get yourself to school." But she wanted to take him there, as a mother does.
Are you going to do that when he gets out the plane in Australia, mate? We just kick him off and be like,
it.
"All right, buddy, run free now. You're koala bears."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. See you later.
Good, man. Now, so Luke, you are an electrician. Okay.
I am. Yeah.
You've completed your skills assessment. Have you done your English test yet?
Yes, I have. Yes, and I got proficient.
Nice. Good effort. And are you going to try again for superior, or you're just proficient is where you're happy with?
Yeah.
Or
I'm probably going to say, to be honest with you, I may try again, but I'm not expecting anything more than proficient, if I'm being honest. English English is my main language. I won't say it's my real strong point in the academic kind of field.
Yeah, nothing, mate. You're exactly the same as me, mate. I'm definitely not an academic sort of person, and I find it's weird, Luke, when I'm chatting to people about the English test. I give up, mate. I'll speak to someone like you and think, yeah, you'll go good, and I'll speak to someone else and think, oh, mate, maybe you should do the English test first, and they'll come back and say, yeah, I got 20 points straight away, and then the person I feel confident in might get 10 points or just competent English. So. So let's talk about the English test first. So not your strong point. You put your hand up and you say that, which is really good. What's like when you were sitting it before you sat the English test? Did you prepare for it, or you just went in there? I'm going to give it a crack.
Yeah, I mean, I did a small amount preparing, but I mean, I've doing driving tests, doing my college stuff. I've always been try to prepare my best, but revision's kind of not for me. I do a little bit and do the basics, but going in depth and reading and going over, I just tend to lose interest more than if I just do the basic stuff and then go for it and use what I've got up there already.
Yeah, good on you, mate. That's good. We're a lot alike, actually. I hated doing like the boat license test and the car. Yeah. Anything you got to like that extra sort of bit of learning, just sort of gripes. Like if I look at it, man, well, you're a Sparky, mate. You see, as a Sparky, you've got good problem solving skills, like me being a plumber, I guess. But if I look at like a manual or something like that, I'll be like, I'll be reading the manual, but I'll be thinking about something totally different and get to the end and be like YouTube what I've got to build.
Yeah.
But back to your English test. So, how did your day go? You woke up, had a bit of brekkie, and then what was it? Does it happen in the morning, or can you do it in the afternoon?
If I remember rightly, I think it was in the morning. It was in the city centre, in Leeds city centre. So yeah, just got off, had some breakfast, had a quick read through, the rough stuff that I'd written down and a bit of revision, and then off I went. I think I got the bus into town. Just because parking's ridiculous in Leeds, so very easy. Get the bus into town. I think I listen to a bit of music to relax, and then you get there. You obviously go through all your checks and everything, showing your ID, making sure you are who you say you are, and then it's into a room, into a little booth, and away you go from there.
So you did the
Yeah,
PhD in Pearson.
yeah, I did the Pearson. Yeah.
Okay, and then what? So you go in there, mate, and then where do you start? You do the reading, the writing, the listening, or the speaking first?
To be honest with you, I can't remember. I think I did the listening first. I think the listening, then I went on to do the others. But I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, if I'm being totally honest.
Which one was the hardest one?
I found the listening the hardest. The listening, and then they'd ask a question on what you just listened to, and yeah, I just didn't go in and to come back out, if that makes sense.
Yep. So I heard most people struggle with the writing section,
Hmm.
but that's good. It's good. It's good to get a bit of good to get a bit of feedback. So, all
Yeah,
right, mate. So you come out. You've done your English test. Did you your skills assessment, mate? As an electrician, it's probably one of the most challenging skills assessments because you're a licensed
yeah.
trade. You do a practical assessment. So you do the documentary assessment. So how did you find the documentary assessment, gathering all the evidence, or was that sort of handballed over to Millie?
No, no, no. It was. This. The whole Australia is my decision, so I've took it on myself, and I'm going all again. I'm doing it all off my own back. So yeah, I mean,
Okay.
I did the everything on my own. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I've had a fair few jobs in my time, so getting the actual, expressions at the statements and things like that were quite hard. Proving and documenting the work that I've done is quite easy because the job I do at the minute is quite varied.
Hmm.
So I have got, quite easy to claim all them and photos and write ups.
So how many
Um,
years did you have to gather?
how many? What? Sorry.
How many years of evidence did you gather in total?
I think I got to 7, but
Nice.
I have actually over 10 years. But some certain companies that I worked with have obviously gone bust, and which is part of the electrical trade, I suppose. Smaller companies tend to go by the by, don't they? And
Yeah.
trying to get obviously references off them were nigh on impossible.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's challenging. I always say to people that are starting the process, I reckon it's the hardest part. But we're also, I think
yeah,
every part of it's difficult. So you then did a technical interview. Did you use ATTC or Future Skills?
future skills.
Yep. So you did your technical interview with who was it with? Was it with Jeff? Was it or
Yes, Jeff rings a bell. Yeah, Jeff.
yep? And how did you find that? Was that just a chit chat? Was it daunting?
No, we're all right. To be fair, it was just more of a chit chat and basically running through technical obviously questions, and then what I know, what I've done, and things like that. Really, so yeah, wasn't too daunting at all.
Yep.
More daunting with the testing side of the practical, if I'm being honest. The
Yeah.
actual doing the work. Obviously, like, I know a lot of people struggle with the motors and the direct online drawing things like that, and wiring that up. But that's kind of half of my game. I work in a factory doing
Yep.
maintenance, so doing motors and that were really easy for me. But the testing side of things is somewhere I don't really tend to get my hands dirty. But
Yep.
I did all right.
Well, you are an electrician, mate. You don't,
Yeah.
pretty clean trade,
No,
mate.
you'd be quite
Screwdriver, a
surprised.
toolkit.
You'd be quite surprised in my job how often I have to get my hands dirty. I don't
Mm,
work in the cleanest of places, so I'm
yeah.
probably I'm one of them electricians that's one in a million. Let's put it that way.
Did did you so when you did you complete an apprenticeship? Did you get your NVQ level 3?
Yes, I did. So I
And
actually go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, did you, the AM2, is that correct? You have is
Yeah.
the exam you do for the skills assessment similar to the AM2? I get that question all the time.
Yes, it's quite similar. So yeah, I suppose yeah, it is practically an AM2 from where you go from obviously the installations, wiring, except on an AM2 it's on a wall. But yeah, it's all basically kind of the same kind of things. You do on the AM2, you do a bit more of different kind of cables. You do like armored and this and that, and other, making them all off. But yeah, apart from that, it's kind of same really.
Okay. Awesome. So you completed your skills assessment, you've got your English test, and now you're waiting to put you're waiting pretty much for some states to open to put in your expression of interest because this is
Yep.
being recorded on the 28th to the 8th, 2024. So at the moment, I believe there's only one state. WA is pretty much just open, but only inviting people with, I think it was 85 or 90 points in their first round. And then we've had quite a few invites from South Australia, which is good. But before we move on to where you're at now, let's go back in time, Luke. You said it was your idea to move to Oz. So have you been to Australia before?
No, I've never been to Australia. It's just
And
a
has Millie
dream.
been to Australia before?
No, we've not. None of us have been. It's just a kind of a dream, somewhere I've always wanted to go. I mean, I've been trying to persuade Millie for 15 years to move over to Australia. So before we had any kids or we were married or anything, but it only just recently, like I say, last year, she eventually said, "Oh yeah, let's give it a go."
Wow.
So yeah,
What was the
it's
tipping
been
point, Luke? How did you end up, selling it, I guess, a bit more to get her to agree?
I think she was just fed up of me pestering her, to be honest.
Yeah, nice.
But
Nice. I
yeah, I
like
mean, it came to me quite a shock. I said to her, obviously, I pushed quite a bit 15 years ago to try and move over when we had no kids and obviously no commitments over here. But she wasn't feeling it. So I kind of died down for a fair few years, probably about 5 years. I didn't ask, didn't push. And then I just thought, I'm getting to a point in my life where if I don't go soon, it's going to be one of them where I'm going to have that nagging regret in the back of my mind all the time, saying, what if, what if, what if? So I just explained that to her, really. I explained, look, I'm getting to an age where if we don't do it soon and, at least try it, what are we really going to miss out on if we try it, decide it's not for us and have to come back home? We've not lost anything. A bit of money, that's it, really. But you can always recoup money.
Yeah,
So yeah,
you can, mate. You can, especially being a Sparky, mate. The prices you guys charge, you won't be, recruit that. So I guess I got to ask this, mate. How old are you?
me, I'm 35.
35. Okay.
Now. Yeah.
So you've been working on Millie for a little bit. She
Yep.
she gives in, and how does, in your mind, what does Australia look like for you?
Australia just looks like an opportunity and an adventure, something to start afresh and do things that I've always obviously more of an outside world. I mean, I like, obviously my kids have computers and stuff like that, but in England you don't have the weather where you can, come home from school, they can get home from school, you get home from work and say, oh, should we, go to a park? Should we go do this? We've had maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks of good weather over in England this summer, which you can't enjoy it. My kids, like my little boy and me, are doing a project BMX at minute, and he wants to go to skate parks and stuff like that. But when it's raining, there's no opportunity for him to do that. So I'd like to, where we can move over to Australia and we can live a life more of as a family, more than right, I'm off on this computer, right, I'm off on that. So more of a unit kind of thing, and do things outside and just experience what Australia's got to offer, really.
Yeah, well, look, they'll definitely find they will find the devices. Their kids, or adults, are just as bad, I guess, as well. But if we talk like skate parks and all that, mate, they're everywhere in Melbourne. We're everywhere in Oz. They're just everywhere. It's awesome. It is that outside lifestyle that we talk about a lot in these podcasts and everything. So you sold it to Millie, but Zach sounds like he's a bit on board. How about Ruby, mate? Being a bit younger, is she? Going to be the grandparents still with you guys? Are they a bit part of your family, or?
Yeah. Well, yeah, we've got obviously my mum and dad have. Well, my dad passed away last year, so it's just my mum left. And Millie's mum and dad are still around. And Millie's got a sister, so it's obviously probably the reason why Millie's been reluctant to go is because she's got a bit more of a family over here, whereas I don't massively get involved with my family, so I miss my mum, but that's kind of it. But I know my mum, obviously not having any ties and being retired, should just come over for a couple of months. So the kids are all on board. Yeah, Zach's really looking forward to it. Ruby's a gymnast, and she's really looking forward to it. We've been looking at obviously what there is to offer for gymnastics over, and some of the clubs are like at least 10 times better than what she could get over in England. So she's really looking forward to the opportunity.
Oh, that's good. That's so good. Yeah, well, it's good. You got a little holiday place. Yeah, for your mum and all that to
Oh yeah.
sort of come down, which is good. And I guess, like, have you got a specific place in Australia in your mind where you'd like to settle, mate?
Yeah, ideally we'd like to settle somewhere in Queensland around Brisbane area.
Yeah.
It's just obviously it seems more of an outside beach kind of place. The weather's a bit, nicer and sunnier. So one of the stipulations Millie said if we're going to Australia, it's got to be nice weather and it's got to be close to a beach. So that's
What
where I'm working around.
So you mentioned before, look, it's going to cost you money and, you can always
Yeah.
come back. But at what point because the challenges which we're going to talk about at the moment, waiting for an EOI and, we'll talk about
Hmm.
like the emotional side of that part. But at what point, Luke, as a husband and and as a dad, do you turn around and say, we gave it a crack and it didn't work? Have you got have you and Millie sort of said, look, she will get it. Like, the reality is, like everyone, human emotions we have. She'll get homesick. She'll miss family,
Yeah,
miss
yeah.
her sister. The kids will miss friends. It's not all Summer Bay and neighbours out here.
No, no.
At what point have you guys spoken about it and said, oh, if it doesn't, if it's the first year, if we're still not, um, I guess, committed, or we're having doubts, or do you go like 2 years? Have you put a timeline on it?
Yeah, so we set ourselves a year at first. So we said we'd give it a year, see how what we feel and what we've got feelings. If it's not a definite yes or a definite no, because we've spoke to some people and they say a year's not long enough. You probably need to give yourself 2 years because the first year you're still kind of getting over that separation from family.
Yep, I would
Um,
definitely agree.
so I'd probably say 2 years before we make the decision. Look, yes, we want to stay or no. Plus, obviously, we plan on renting his house out, and due to obviously mortgages and stuff like that, without changing all your interest rates and everything like that, we can do for 2 years where we rent it
Yep.
out and it doesn't affect anything. So that's probably quite a big thing as well.
Yeah, no, good stuff. Good stuff. I don't know, like, I don't be too intrusive when, you've been kind enough to let us interview you.
Oh
But at the
yeah,
same time,
yeah,
I think people who listen to these podcasts, mate, they're all, some people have visas or in Oz, other people are just thinking about it, other people are waiting for EOIs
yeah,
and doing everything like that. So, and look, Queensland does have a lot to offer. It's actually a really good choice, Queensland. I can see why
mhm,
Queensland and WA are quite popular areas. You get nice weather, good lifestyle, good living.
yeah, yeah,
And if you're going to Brisbane way, you can just shoot a couple of hours up the road and you're in the sunny coast, or an hour down the other way, you're in the Gold Coast.
yeah,
And they are very sort of different areas. But then you can shoot all the way up, to like Townsville and all that, and you sort of takes a lot more time to get there. It's a beautiful, big, beautiful country.
yeah.
Which is good. So, and have you spoken to? We asked if your feelings, how you guys going to miss people. How have the your mum taken it, and maybe like Millie's parents, how have they taken it? Are you in the bad books with them, or they're okay?
Uh, no, to be honest with you, my Millie's mum and dad, they're quite independent. They have their own caravan at the coast, which is about an hour away from us. And they've openly said, at some point in the near future, they are going to move over to there. So they're going to be like an hour plus away. So it's not like they're around the corner. So my mum, obviously, she were. I think she knew it was coming because I've said for that long that I have wanted to go. I haven't made no qualms about it or held it back. I've always said to her, one day I do want to go to Australia. So she knows it's been coming. So I think she would kind of come to terms with it. But I think obviously with my dad passing as well, that had a big influence on it. That it's given her a new, well, not lease of life, but something to look forward to. So obviously she knows that when we go to Australia, she's got that adventure herself where she can come
Yeah,
over to Australia and it's like a holiday destination for her. She's got somewhere to go. She knows no matter what, if she comes over, she can come stay for 3, 6 months, however long she wants to come. Because she's quite a big part of my kid's life. So
yeah, of
yeah,
course.
which she's known it's coming, so it's not come. It's like we've jumped on her and said, look, we're going to Australia, and we haven't let her know. She's known for a long while that it is coming.
Yeah.
Like
It's
just
still
everything's
hard
come
though.
together. Oh yeah, it'd still be hard for her. I mean, like I say, we knew, we told them before my dad passing. Obviously, my dad passing makes everything a bit more, raw and a bit more
Yeah, of course.
emotions involved in things. But yeah, she knows what's coming, and I think she's come to terms with it. If I'm being totally honest.
And that's why I really like our community on the Facebook group, because people can share that emotional side. Because my missus is from the UK and she'll get
Yeah,
it all the time. Father's Day, Mother's Day, and all that, missing her family and just that support. Like
yeah,
everyone says, oh, you can jump on the Skype and Facebook and all that sort of things and chat, but it isn't. It's different when if you need a hug or something and they're not
oh
there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, really
it
different.
does. But you weigh up the options. I've always said to my partner, like me being an Aussie, I'm like, well, I really don't want to. I'm very happy where I live, and now she's just like it's home. So it does take time, and she's been here for
Yeah,
2.5 years.
yeah,
So I really hope that you and Millie, Zach and Ruby and all that, give it a good crack. Now, so when you arrive in Australia, you're aware that you need to do the gap training.
yep, yeah. I'm aware of that. Yeah,
Yep. So for listeners out there, if you're a licensed trade, when you arrive in Australia, depending on the state you move to, if you're an electrician, no matter what state you move to, you need to do the skills assessment, which Luke's already completed. And at completion of that, he would have received an OTSR, Offshore Technical Skills Record. That means no matter what state or territory he goes to, he'll be able to apply for his provisional license. That meaning he can legally work for an electrician. And then while he's on that provisional license, he'll then be asked to complete the gap training. Now, the good news for you, Luke, is there's actually quite a few more gap training providers that pop their head up as well.
right.
And there's quite a few in Queensland too, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
The gap training, mates, will consist of two parts. The first part's e-profiling. So that's you working with an employer, a licensed electrician, and
Yep.
then ticking units like tasks that you've done. Okay.
Yeah,
So you got a whole
I'd
list
say
of
that.
tasks that you've done.
One second. I'd say that's like an MVQ over in England.
So it's really weird. Sort of years ago, mate, they didn't put a time to it, so people could rock up on a Tuesday, get all the tasks done,
Mm.
on a Thursday. Now they've put like allocated hours. So
Yeah,
if you're doing overtime, or if you say you're doing overtime and all that sort of stuff, and you work on weekends, you could probably get it down. They usually reckon it's 12 months.
yeah.
Of work, but I know lots of people have got it down. And then the
Mm-hmm.
other part is learning the actual Australian regulations. And then once you've learned that, and there's different schools that provide that. Like one school will make you do online learning, Luke, and then you do a week like sort of final capstone sort of exam. And then
Right,
other
right.
ones do like 3 week blocks where you just go in and do the whole thing in 3 weeks, as well as the e-profiling. But then there's no online
Mm-hmm.
learning. Um, Everyone's different, and I think it really just varies to where you're living, the location, the times when people are doing it. But I would definitely buddy up with a few people. I know when I'm assessing the plumbers,
Yeah,
I always tell them to sort of swap numbers and do things, just so when they get here, it's a bit different. When you are doing the gap training, you've got a bit of support, because what I find is the people you do your skills assessment with, there's probably
yeah.
people that are going to generally migrate around the same time as you.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's a bit of advice for people when you are doing your skills assessments. The more people you know. I was going to ask you this as well. So, do you guys have family and friends out here when you arrive, mate?
We don't know. We know a couple. It's a friend of my wife's. They live in Melbourne, obviously
Yeah.
Victoria. But they're the only people we really know. We know friends of friends kind of thing. So we've got acquaintances more than friends. But we know a couple of people out there, like I say, acquaintances. We can say hello to them, but we won't be pally pally. You know what I mean?
When you get your invitation to apply
Mm-hmm.
and your visa, you'll actually be issued a free call with one of our relocation agents.
All right.
And our relocation agents in Queensland are really good. They're actually very active. They're always having meetups. So
Yeah, yeah,
basically, you, Millie, and the kids just rock up and meet other you, Millie, and the kids, I guess, and kids play, parents chat, and it's
yeah,
really good. It's a little community, because this is, I guess, you're not in Australia. So one of the intents of this podcast, why when you said, you're happy to be interviewed. I was like, well, that's great, because we can sort of get a feeling of what you think life's going to be like. And then, in a year or so, mate, when you're out here living it, we'll hit you back up and,
Yeah.
and see how it actually went, which would be quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now, so going back to so a completion of your gap training, okay,
Yeah.
you'll then be issued with your certificate 3. You take that back to the regulator, and then you actually receive, then you're an A grade electrician. And
Yeah.
once you've got that, then you're laughing, mate. I think
Cool.
it's just that process, and it's just like we're really good as a business, and we'll tell people about the gap training. But mate, you'd be surprised. Luke. Every day, I mean, I'm out here in Oz, obviously. I'm getting
Yeah.
people hit me up saying, "Oh, how do I do the gap training? No one told me about it." And it's like, okay, well,
Yeah.
you now need to do your skills assessment. Maybe they came on their partner's visa as the main applicant. Maybe they came over on employer. It's weird, Luke. People can come over on employer-sponsored visa with a UK passport. A
Yeah.
skills assessment's not mandatory to apply for the visa, but when they
Right.
get here, their employer wants them to get a registration. To get the
Mm-hmm.
registration, they need a skills assessment. So
Right.
then they're halfway to applying for their permanent residency visa, aren't they?
Yeah. 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 So they're kind of stuck in limbo, really, aren't they?
Well,
Need to kind of take a step backwards to come forward again, won't they? Really, to go do all
yeah, they
the
get
assessment and
you,
everything.
and then their employer is like, well, we want to get them licensed, and I'll explain to them.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So, look, you're at EOI stage. So, I think I've got written here you got 70 points. So, you're going to get 25 points for your age, 10 points for your qualification, takes you to 35. How many years of evidence did you gather?
It was 7, around about 7-ish.
And that's including qualification?
No, because I couldn't go all the way back to qualification. So
Okay, so it's after your qualification.
yeah.
Yep. So you get 10 points then, because you can prove more than 5 years and less than 8. So 25, 35, 45, 5 familiar, having a UK passport, 50. 10 for the English test is 60. So you'll be 65 points with a 190, or 75 points for a 491,
Mm-hmm.
which is good. And obviously, guys, on a 491 visa, you can't live and work in Sydney, Melbourne, or Brisbane cities for the first 3 years. There's a couple of other, requirements there. If you want to buy a house and everything like that, you got to pay an extra bit of stamp duty, but pretty much school fees and everything paid for. So they're really good options.
Mm-hmm.
You can only, I guess at the end of the day, Luke, you can only go on the options that you've got, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what
And that, and that
whatever's been
relates to
put in
where your
front of you.
points are.
Yeah. Whatever like I say, you've got what you got. Obviously, you try and get as much points as you can to be able to get the top marks and everything. But sometimes limitations and sometimes time just kind of gets in the way, and you can only get what you get. And I'm happy with 70 points in a 491, so I'm good.
Yeah, well, that's that's where you're at. You could put in extra, could go 60, you get the 5 for a 190 and put it in. But guys, when you're putting in an expression of interest, think of it like fishing. It's my analogy. I think I've probably said this on the podcast before, but I've made up a bit of a silly analogy, Luke, but I like it. If you go fishing, mate, have you ever been fishing before?
No, I can't say I have. It's not my game.
If you can picture someone fishing, if they don't have a hook and bait at the end of the fishing line, they're not going to catch a fish, are they? The fish isn't going to
Exactly
tell them that the bait's fallen off. So when you're putting in an expression, which meaning they're not going to catch a fish. The whole
Yeah.
reason of putting in an expression of interest is to gain an invitation to apply. It's as simple
Mm-hmm.
as that. So when you're putting in the expression of interest, you want to get the invitation to apply. If you haven't got enough points, or the state's not looking for those requirements, it's literally like fishing without having a hook and bait on the line. You're waiting forever. Nothing's going to happen. So what our agents were doing, and you've got an awesome agent in Trish. So what she'll be doing is looking out for you and trying to work out when as the state's open, what are good options and all that to get the best result, which is good. Now, how long since you've had your skills assessment and your English test, mate? How long have you been waiting to be able to put in an expression of interest?
Oh, I can't remember off the top of my head, to be honest with you.
Like 3 months, 2 months, 6 months?
Yeah, I think we put them in last year before obviously everything closed, and then we just started putting them back in again because obviously the states have opened. We've done Victoria, and I think that's all we've done. Maybe we're looking at obviously WA, with them just opening, but I don't think we've got that one in yet. But yeah, so we've actually already had the EOIs in once, and obviously the financial year ended, so now we're just going around putting them all back in again.
Yeah, and like we've got Vic, one of our agents in Oz. She's actually going to all the CPD sessions at the moment with the states. They're doing
Yeah.
one each day, where the states are
Hmm.
sort of explaining. So, give you an example. If you want to put one in for Queensland, they want you to have proficient English, which you've got, and they want you to have
Hmm.
be claiming 5 years of experience, which you also have. There you go. There's a
Yeah.
fun fact for you. So you actually tick the boxes for Queensland because you've got the proficient English and the 5 years.
Yeah.
Um, which is pretty good news. Now, have you been looking for? Have you thought about trying to get an? Have because obviously once you get your invitation to apply, you pay your government fees. You could be
Yeah.
waiting anywhere from sort of 6 months to another 12 months to get here. Does that sit well with you guys? Is that what you and Millie are sort of saying? Okay, well, we're probably about a year and a half off tops now, or are you
Yeah.
guys like, no, we want to get out there quicker? What's your thoughts?
Ideally, we'd like to get out there quicker. We set ourselves a rough, obviously, a rough idea of when we'd like it to get out there, which were around about this time, obviously around about now before Zach started high school. But obviously that's been and gone. So yeah, at the current time, we're not. Obviously, the sooner we get out there, the better. But there's no major rush at the current time, really.
I was just going to say, look, with that, it's actually kind of good because the school starts in Australia just after Christmas. So,
Mm.
like the end of January, Feb. So, depending on what you want to do with Zach, you'll have a choice. You'll either go back to, you could start we call it, year 7 over here, probably same as over there.
Yeah,
Um, you can start there fresh, be the new kid, be the new kid at school, but also starting with a whole heap of other kids that are new
yeah.
to the schools because everything like that. So that's something, a bit of food for thought. All right. So, have you been looking for employers? Have you been looking for employer-sponsored visas?
Yeah, so I got a sponsorship. It's was it about 4 months, 5 months ago? Someone said they're willing to sponsor me, and then it just kind of dwindled out and fell through really. Um, so I have since then. I've obviously still been looking out there. It's just a bit of a struggle, really.
Mm. And do you? I mean, you should be dealing with. You speak to Lee from our team because we do have quite a few electrical jobs that sponsor.
Yeah.
But I guess it depends on where you want to live as well. Just with that, so guys, if you do get offered an employer-sponsored visa, you can apply for your independent skilled visa while you're onshore. But at the moment, if you're offshore, you've actually can put into you've got a lot more options with the states that you want to apply for. Where if you're onshore, you're restricted to that state. There's quite a few things that you've got to consider if you are looking to do that. And in Australia, even though I always say this, even though it's a very large country, it's a very small place. What you really don't want to be doing is moving to an area where you're being employer sponsored. The employers cost money, and then straight away you get your other visa. But as we said, look, getting a visa might take anywhere from sort of 8 to 18 months these days to get your visa granted. So you will be
Hmm.
working for that employer for the period of time. So if you did get off an employer-sponsored visa and they said to you, for hypothetically, look, we need you out here in a month, is that something you can pull off?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, like I say, we're in a lucky situation where obviously my family's over here, and they're quite close to where we live. We're not separated from anyone. So if we ever needed to just up ship and move, there's always going to be someone close by who can deal with leftover things, or if we need someone just to say, right, I'm going to do this. Can you do this? So be like, yeah, no worries. So we're kind of in a good position there. So yeah, we'd be able to up sticks and move as soon as we possibly could. Really, yeah.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So you asked a few questions, which I've got written in front of me. One of them is there a loophole to get onshore and work with a family without having a full visa? The only
Hmm.
really way to do that, mate, is the employer-sponsored visa.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, working holiday visas, the age went up to 35 with UK passport holders, but you've got those two awesome kids, Zach and Ruby, so
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
can't have any dependents, which does that. The only option that you could do potentially if you want to get out here quicker is once you get your invitation to apply, you've actually got 60 days to accept it. Okay.
Hmm.
So what sometimes people do, mate, is they'll fly to Australia on a tourist visa and then they'll accept it while they're in Australia, which then means they'll go to a bridging visa, which means they can't work for 3 months. So
Right.
some people do that if they've got the funds there. Three
Hmm.
months doesn't sound like a long time, but when you're not earning and you're spending,
Yeah.
it does add up.
Yeah.
So I always really tell people to have a big think about that. If you've got the cash there, it's an option. If you haven't, but then again, mate, it's not going anywhere. But
No, no.
I was about to swear then, mate, in a podcast. Probably shouldn't do that. Probably offend someone. But
Sugar.
it's
It's
just
sugar.
it's just horrible, mate, because it's like that emotional side where your heart's because how in obviously you've had a financial cost and you've also done all that hard work doing the skills assessment, put yourself out of the comfort zone doing your English test.
Yeah.
Australia, you just want to just grab it and just get over here right now. I bet, don't you?
Yeah. So obviously, people don't tell you how, or you don't think when you're starting the process of how frustrating it's going to be. You
Yeah,
think, all right, the hard bits, people say the hardest bits are skills assessment and stuff, it's hard, obviously gaining all that and doing your tests, which can be quite daunting for people. But no one lets you know the frustration of the bit where you're at expression of interest, you put them in, and then that's it. It feels like it stops because there's nothing you can do. There's nothing
yeah,
anyone else can do. You're literally waiting for the Australian government or the
the
Western
states.
Australia, Queensland, the states. Sorry, you're waiting on them for them to decide or to tell you when to do something. So that I
Yeah,
mean, like we're here now. I can search for jobs until I'm literally blue in the face. I can apply for everything, but you know, you, I'm not getting anywhere doing what I'm doing. But then you feel like you're not getting anywhere at the same point for the visa. The visa just kind of your process has stopped,
yeah,
and you're liking what I like. Like best way to explain it is like limbo. You don't
yeah.
know what's coming tomorrow. If it's coming tomorrow, if it's not coming tomorrow, you wake up in the morning. First thing you do is check your phone, and then if there's nothing there, you're a bit like, well, another day in England.
Yeah,
You know,
Groundhog Day, Groundhog Day.
yeah. So you kind of ups and downs, real ups and downs. Some days you could be, well, it'll come eventually. And other days you could be like, I just wish it had been here today.
I think you worded it really well, Luke, when you said that the skills assessment's hard and whatever, but at least you see a finish line. You know when the
Yeah.
finish line's there and you've got it, and you go, yeah, okay, that bit's ticked. You do your English test. Oh, that's annoying. Get it done. Now you're in
Yeah.
no man's land. And does Millie sort of share that? Like does she get up? Is she in that same sort of enthusiasm, I guess, and then hit that disappointment? Is this today I get my invite? Is she the same, or she's a bit different?
No. Millie's exactly the same. She like to say at the start she wasn't obviously not on board, but she wasn't like really into the process. But now she's come round to it, and she's been on the DUC Facebook page and
Good
seen
on her.
people's posts and how the lives are developing and growing. And she's spoken to a friend, like I say, who lives over there. So yeah, she's all on board now, and she wakes up every day and goes, "Oh, did you get out?" I'm like, "No, not today." So yeah, she's all on board. Kids at same there. Every couple of days they say, "Daddy, when we going to Australia?" I'm like, "I don't know, mate. I can't give you a definite yes or a definite no or a definite date. It's kind of we're just waiting now." So
Is
yeah,
it, and
it,
yeah, and it's been. I guess it's just that beat up feeling. It sucks, mate. Like it's so.
yeah, yeah,
This is the emotional side of it. I'm so oversaying the emotional side. Every webinar I taught, you've also got the emotional side. But this is a good chance for us to get into that because 35-year-old electrician, family of two. You know,
mm,
you're good at what you do, mate. You've smashed the English, you've smashed that, and then now you're at this point where everything's out your hands, mate. You feel a bit useless, but you can't do nothing. And if you whinge, it just probably not in your probably mindset to whinge, but you want to whinge, and I guess you've got all your family and friends that are going, oh, when are you moving? They probably think it's really simple. Is that right?
yeah. So like, I mean, to be fair, we thought it would be really simple. We knew it was going to be a process, but last Christmas we said it's probably going to be his last Christmas. We'll have a big blowout.
Yeah,
We went did a big Christmas with all family. There were everyone there, and then you feel like you're going to come round. It's kind of a bit of a you feel deflated when you come back to the same point again when you thought I'd be there already. You
yeah,
kind of a bit of embarrassment as well, I suppose, because you thought we thought we'd have been there and we'd have been settling in and maybe coming back and telling everyone all about it, but yet we're still in the same place and people ask you, have you got any further? Have you got any further? And just like No, same thing. So you kind of feel like you're not going forward, and I think people who you speak to as well, they're the same. They're like, you tell them because obviously they don't know what the process is and how it goes through.
Yeah.
But you're explaining to them, and they're a bit like, oh yeah. So you kind of just waiting, like, and it's like, yeah, that is basically it. We're just waiting. It's what stalemate basically. You don't know what's coming or when it's coming. You just have to pray that it's coming, and it'll come eventually. You know what I mean?
Oh, mate, it will come. It's. I mean, there's really good moments in the DUC club. I think we had quite a few invites yesterday.
Yeah.
I think with the visa team, we had about 20 or whatever it was. Obviously, not everyone
Nice.
posts. Some people do. I really like when the listeners, if you're part of our clients, guys, do post and let people like Luke and that know that they're happening. But you've probably seen as well, we've had quite a few visas granted too, which is it's good, isn't it, mate? It sort of lifts these like, oh, when's it my turn? And I love the encouragement that other clients give each other. It's good. So, but Luke, I just want to thank you, mate, for taking the time. You've actually taken a day off for this, and I think that's just
Yeah,
awesome,
no
mate.
worries. Fine.
And I really hope for you, Millie, Zach, and Ruby, that time comes. You've got an awesome agent. We'll do what we can. I would really encourage Millie to, and yourself as well, mate. Like, start chatting to a few of the boys and all that as well.
Yeah.
And girls. We can all mix with each other these days. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Start
Yeah.
chatting around and all that, and then even before you like just decide to fly out, hit the DUC club or speak to your relocation agent. Who will talk to you about like what life is like, in Oz, the schools, how to save money on your move and all that, and just ask them when the next catch up is, because I think that's going to be really important. Because without having family, and you might have a few people over here, there's some awesome clients of ours that everything that you're going through, mate. Every people of other people have done that. You're not new.
Yeah.
And we're so blessed to have clients that will actually, and staff members that will actually remember that time. And sort of take you in a little bit, and then before you know it, mate, 2 years later, you'll be probably adopting another another DUC client into your sort of little ways. And then once you start working, mate, you'll just see you'll have your workmates straight away, and then the kids groups, mate. When Ruby's smashing the gymnastics out and everything like that, and you're hanging out with all the gymnastic mums and dads, you'll just see like it's you won't be short of mates. So
no, sure. Yeah, like I say, it's just one of them waiting games. You just got to bide your time and try and keep positive, which we'll always do. We'll always look. We obviously keep going, plodding along, and we'll get there eventually.
Yeah, that's it. Find that something in your headspace where you can take your mind off it a bit, and then that day that it happens, and then you're getting your invites one thing, and then it's getting your visa. So, but Luke, mate, again, I really want to thank you, mate. It's been a pleasure getting to know you, and I can't wait to catch up with yourself, and maybe we'll get Millie involved when you're sitting in here in Australia. From all the listeners out there, buddy, you're a legend, mate, and thank you again. I really appreciate it, guys, mate.
No worries. Thanks for your time.
Too easy. Now, listeners, thank you very much, and we'll catch you on the next podcast. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon.